Welcome to the Practice X Factor, the place to be for mastering membership plans for your business. Here, you'll learn exactly how to grow your patient relationships and accelerate your profits without getting stuck on the dental insurance bandwagon.
Welcome to another episode of the Practice X Factor. As always, we are here to bring you relevant and timely content to grow the membership portion of your practice. We have a lot of fun doing this practice. It's always exciting to share these ideas with you, our listeners, and bring some fun and engaging guests on that can really help you grow your practice. And today we have a really cool guest on here, someone who can really provide some great insight on systems and growing your practice, and that's Parthiv Shah. So thank you, Parthiv, for joining us today. Good to have you here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for inviting me. I love dentists, I love dentistry, and I love all my dentist friends.
That means you know a lot about dentistry, because there's not very many patients who say, I love the dentist, right? Of course, your clients may be a little different, you know. But if we're being honest, you know, it's good. And Parthiv, you know, we're in a mastermind group together, marketing mastermind group together. We've both been followers of Dan Kennedy and some of the coaches from Dan Kennedy for several years. I've been, I think, following Dan Kennedy since 2016, but Parthiv goes back further than me, so he's got the lead on me there. He's also the founder and president of eLaunchers. Over 300 dentists, physicians, and other clients from 27 states in the U.S., as well as 8 other countries, have benefited from the services they provide with him and his team. He has multiple books, including some best-selling books and some books specifically for dentists. He received his MBA in 1994. He's worked on over, I think you said, I think sometimes you call yourself, the billion-dollar man, or the billion-dollar...
I mailed a billion pieces of direct mail.
There you go, billion pieces of direct mail. Very cool. He's also named the Small Business of the Year in 2016 by the GKIC Direct Response Hall of Fame. So, Parthiv, what else would you like our listeners to know? Tell us a little more about you.
Well, you said all the cool and good stuff about me. So a couple of fun facts about me. I was in the Indian Air Force, and I am a soldier turned civilian, so I approach business a little differently. And I'm a systems and process kind of a guy. And another cool fact about me is me and my mom both got our masters in the same year in Massachusetts, 1994. I got my MBA, and my mom got her master's in education. I was the only kid who brought his mom to college. And that was kind of cool. We shared a graduation cake together. So, you know, Doc, you brought up a very interesting point. Why do most people don't like dentists most of the time? Do you know why that is the case? Do you know what the problem is?
I mean, you know, that's cool. I mean, it's depending what you. So internally, like in my own practice, I know there's a lot of anxiety. I mean, not wanting to go to the dentist is in the top 3 up there with, you know, public speaking and death. Fear of the dentist is huge. If you look at some of the data from the American Dental Association, you know, they'll show lack of perceived need. You know, a lot of people feel like, well, maybe this tooth's a little sensitive or sore. It's not really hurting me right now. But I think that fear of the dentist really plays into people justifying why they don't need to go to the dentist. But I'd love to hear your perspective on it.
Well, look, dentistry is not the most painful part of medicine, right? There are other things that are going to be more painful than dentistry. You don't do life-threatening stuff. People don't die if the dentist does a bad job. I mean, so it's not like that you are on a very scary spectrum. The real problem is, I don't think American consumers are educated well on the value dentistry provides.
Definitely.
Most people avoid dentistry because they think they can. Honda does a better job training you on importance of oil change than American culture talks about well visits and sick visits to dentists. I mean, pediatrician, you will take your child to pediatrician. And the issue is there are certain very specific things in dentistry that people just don't know or choose to forget. That there are problems in your mouth. The problems in the mouth is irreversible, and the problem in your mouth will get worse as time goes by if you choose to neglect or ignore the problem. So if these three things are true, why is it that patients are not looking forward to meeting the dentist? Dentist is going to put a beautiful smile on your face, deal with the ailment from getting out of hand, save a tooth from leaving your mouth, and keep you in a healthy, happy, comfortable, and attractive-looking state for an extended period of time. Well, I think the communication system between the doctor and the patient is broken. The doctor wants to talk about bone and budget. The patient wants to talk about blood, pus, pain, tooth loss, how much will it cost, will my insurance pay, why won't my insurance pay, if my insurance doesn't pay, why do I need it, do I need it now, was it my fault? So essentially, there is a complete and utter communication failure. And the doctors are scientists. They are not salespeople. They are not trained or conditioned to prospect, pitch, and close. You became doctors so you don't have to be a salesperson to begin with. So what can a dentist do? Because it's not just about practice growth. It is about serving your patients in the most meaningful way. Yes, you're not going to overdiagnose or overtreat, but what about underdiagnosing and undertreating? And when patients don't comply, you have unscheduled treatment. You have treatment that patients say no to, and therefore the periodontal disease is going to get worse. If they have diabetes, sleep apnea can kill you. So there is a lot that patients don't know. And most dentists don't have marketing assets that communicates, nurtures, and educates the patient. So let's talk about the business side of dentistry. I'm not a dentist, but I love the business side of dentistry. I've been working for a dentist since 2011. I have worked for orthodontists, pediatric dentists, implant, cosmetic, all on four. I have worked for some really aggressive, super high-profile dentists who spend a lot of money on marketing and advertising. I did a campaign that head-on compete against Clear Choice, and my tagline was, when the choice is not clear. I mean, we had a lot of...
That makes it fun. Keeps everybody on their toes.
Yep. And I have worked for some of the most gentle, very low-key, low-profile, oh my God, you cannot use Kennedy-style language. That is not me. That is not my persona. So we actually have writers who write bespoke copy and content that suits the doctor's personality. Doctors in Australia and Canada would behave differently than doctors in Manhattan or Orlando.
Right.
So we have to be cognizant. But if you look at generalities of dentistry, I believe dentistry is like a three-layered cake. There is a base layer of the cake, which is what I call your bread and butter dentistry. The insurance paid tiny little cases that are same-day dentistry under $1,000 or hundreds of dollars that insurance will pay you most of the money for. And that gets bills paid. But if that's all you're going to do, there is a problem. Cost of delivery has been going up in last several years. And this year, everything is going to go very, very expensive. If you look at gasoline prices, milk prices, cost of hour, cost of labor, insurance, overhead, real estate, everything is going to be more and more and more and more and more and more expensive, except one thing. The only two things that are not rising at the rate of American standards of living are US dollar in the international market and the wage dentists get for a particular procedure.
Yeah, I was looking at a report that came out recently that was showing basically private dental insurance reimbursements were declining. State-funded dental insurance reimbursements have been on the decline, including like Medicaid and things like that. Out-of-pocket payments, on average, have been declining. The only one that had gone up was under the other column, and which is essentially stimulus payments, right, which are temporary. So you bring up a good point. I mean, we've had a couple of vendors who have said, this is both in the dental business and in our other businesses, are like, we're doing a straight across the board 15% increase on all services and products to offset the threat of inflation. So I think practice owners are notorious, like, I don't know where this came from, but it's like somewhere back in dental school in our brain, we had this mind that we need to be like always talking about how cheap things can be with our patients. Well, you should do this. This is the cheapest, or well, your insurance won't cover that. And part of this podcast is teaching listeners to create and build a membership practice that gets you out of that mindset. And it's interesting for us as we move to, like you brought up the bread and butter bottom layer of the cake. You move into those other layers, and you actually have patients prepay for service. Our case acceptance has gone up, not down, because now people know what to expect and they have a plan. So tell us some more about the other layers of your cake.
Okay, so the second layer of the cake is what I call significant dentistry. Cosmetic, sedation, implant, all-on-4, sleep, ortho, Invisalign, and big case, full mouth makeover.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things that cost between anywhere from $2,000 to $20,000. Let's just make an average of $6,000 in lifetime value of a patient who actually pays cash. Now, without getting into politics, let's talk about economics of one thing. From Obamacare onwards, when Obamacare was enacted for the first time, the definition of poverty has changed. The poverty line has been rising. With the cost of dentistry being stagnant and Americans making more and more and more and more money, there are more people in America who can afford elective, non-insurance-driven dentistry than what it used to be a decade ago. So if you look at who qualifies for Medicaid, they might have money saved up to pay for ortho, pay for implant, all-on-4. I mean, if you look at the advertising by Clear Choice, the guy in the ad is not a movie star or a television anchor or some guy coming out of a private plane is a more than 50, less than 60-year-old firefighter, upper middle class, blue collar.
So just to clarify from what you're saying is essentially because of more government funding to help lower income, maybe middle, lower income families, discretionary spending, there's more available for a lot of families because they're not spending as much on, say, medical care or groceries or other things.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of sad for a dental profession because your income has not been rising when everybody else's income is rising.
Right.
There are more Americans who can afford your elective dentistry.
Well, and that's
so that is,
the point. Yeah. The point you brought up of how valuable dentistry is, I think, is important for those listening. Is don't fall into that trap. We've talked about it before on the podcast, but don't fall into the trap of slashing fees, discounting fees. If you're a high PPO office, you're going to have to play that game. But that's going to be more in your bread and butter, that bottom layer, that part you've talked about. When you get into the significant dentistry, be very careful with your case acceptance of talking about the value and how it's going to benefit the patient and a customized treatment plan, rather than, how insurance doesn't cover it and how it's going to be expensive and those things, because you'll talk people out of it who have already talked themselves into it. And sometimes we're our worst enemies of case acceptance is us, trying to educate them on the science and the insurance that really isn't our place to say.
Look, I'm going to give you numbers, okay? And these are real simple math. If you're making $1 million in revenue with 85 or higher percent PPO or insurance money coming in, you probably have between 1,000 and 1,500 active patients, and depending on the age of the practice, between 2,000 and 4,000 inactive patients. So you actually have thousands of patients who know you, like you, trust you, love you, respect you, and will show up when you make a call. Okay? For every $1 million you make, you actually have a not quite cult-like, but a respectable following. You just don't communicate with them. That's number one. Number two, at $6,000 a pop, you need 172 net new patients to make an extra $1 million. That is between 5 and 10% of your existing patients buying from the second layer of cake. You don't have to do SEO, PPC, Facebook, social media advertising, or aggressive Valpak coupon to sell ortho, to sell implant, to sell sleep. You can graduate people from within your internal database. So there is a software called a Dental Intel. If you have it, most Dental Intel people don't use a feature called Patient Finder. If you don't have Dental Intel, you can get a 30-day free trial. The report I'm telling you will take you less than 30 seconds. You run a report of patients who are age 50 plus, who have been seen in the last 2 years for 700 days, who have paid you at least $2,000 in cash, and who have a diagnosed but unscheduled treatment of $2,000 or more. For every $1 million in practice, annual practice you have, you will find at least 75 to as many as 150 that fits that profile. Now, I'm generalizing, but the numbers, I have worked for dental practices all over America, and I found enough diamonds in the database within first few minutes every time I do it. So these are like 150 to 300 people who in their mouth have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of treatment And for every day that goes by, they don't come to you, the problem is getting worse. And it's not like they're shopping you. They're just ignoring you. I mean, you're not competing against a fellow dentist. You're competing against Disney. You're competing against a Honda. You're competing against child's tuition.
Discretionary spending, yeah.
Discretionary spending. What we have to do is share with them that this ain't discretionary spending. We want teeth in the mouth, not in a cup. If you don't take care of your teeth between 30 and 60, your mouth will not take care of you between 60 and 90.
It reminds me of the, Perry Marshall has a great book called 20/80 Sales and Marketing. Mm-hmm. It just goes right along with what you're saying. You take this 5 to 10%, 20% of your patients bring you 80% of the collections, but you can narrow that down even more. That if you take the top 5% of your patients, are probably bringing 95% of the collections. So aside from the value, also think about how you're communicating with these patients. Dan Sullivan talks about, he says communication is the result you get. And to your point earlier of, hey, you're not communicating with these people. I mean, those top 5% of patients need to be treated like gold. Every time they step in the office, a gift, a thank you, an extra follow-up call, because those are your best source of referrals, because they're walking around with thousands of dollars of cosmetic dentistry. They're your billboard and your number one referral source. So always think about how those people are being treated.
So the game starts with a good membership plan. And here is what the membership plan secures. Whether or not they book an appointment or whether or not they show up, the hygiene money is spent. Right? Mm-hmm. Depending on the membership level, individual or family, either periodontal maintenance or just healthy visits, depending on the structure of the membership plan, my annual dues for my oral health are paid, either in one annual fee or a pre-scheduled monthly fee. The fact that I'm disassociating money from the treatment plan, I am going to show up. I am going to book an appointment, and I am going to show up. That is half the battle. If my hygiene is taken care of, I'm already demonstrating that I'm a compliant client. And second, the hygienists are trained to identify the problems and alert the doctor, saying, hey, there is something wrong. I see that you should care about. Because dentistry is made of sight and symptoms. Sight is what the hygienist and the doctor see. Symptoms is what the patient feels. Candidly, sight will come before symptom. By the time a patient has a symptom and calls for a problem, a lot of curative options are taken off the table because it's too late. The patient is in pain, there is infection, there is this going on, that going on. So membership, let's say you have 1,000 active patients. If you can do the dental intel thing and find those 150 diamonds in the database and persuade just them to join the membership plan, membership plan is an income-producing asset to start with. But more important, you are guaranteed 2 or 3 dates with patients who already have a big case in their mouth. It's a matter of time before they buy. And the fact that they are in a membership program, you don't have to worry about losing them to another dentist unless they move or die. So membership plan for dentists, for a variety of reasons, is one of the most beautiful economic growth engine for any dental practice. You can offer a dental VIP package to employees of fill-in-the-blank company. You can offer, at no cost to the employer, Just this is a special program available, VIP program, etc., etc. So membership actually can help a dental practice build a communication system in a meaningful way. Doctor, why don't you talk about your membership program? How does that work?
Well, and I think a really cool thing with the membership is going back to the prepayment, right? Is typically if you run an insurance model in your practice, which there's nothing wrong with because it works for a lot of practices, but if you're on such a tight, such a tight margin because your expenses are creeping, what we found, and what people ask us about is, hey, look, if you're billing insurance and payroll is 25 or 30% of your your collections, well, now you go, okay, you do, your hygienist treats the patient, you pay your hygienist within 2 weeks. It might take 30, 60, 90 days. So now you have to pay within 2 weeks, but now your cash flow is hogged up for 2, 4, maybe 6, sometimes more payroll cycles. Whereas with the membership, what's so great about it is it's paid up front or they go on a monthly payment. But also the reason patients love it is, we did a podcast on, the 9 deadly sins of membership, and one of them was don't make it look and taste and sound like insurance. It's got to be something different. And one of the reasons is patients love it because now they feel like they can come to your practice more if they have a need, a question. They're more willing to call. They come in, so they get so much more value out of it because they know that, hey, this membership plan covers everything, and that's a key foundation. Our membership plans cover everything. Doesn't mean everything's free, but that there's some type of benefit for things, especially things that are not covered, and that's really a foundation that you ask the membership plans is, hey, look, what do people want that insurance doesn't cover? Might be sedation, might be implants, might be teeth whitening, might be veneers, all those kind of things that people are asking about, and you go, okay, well, how can we provide value, savings, bonuses with those things that insurance will never give them? Could even be, extra follow-up calls, right? Like you can, I've seen practice owners set up a specific phone number just for membership patients where you say, hey, if you have a problem, call this number. This is our member-only line. Really, the sky's the limit because you're not making it insurance. You're not getting into, FCC regulations and guidelines that you want to stay away from. You're making it a membership plan.
Plan, yep.
And that's where the sky's the limit, and it really makes it fun. So if someone is, well, first we got to get to your third layer of the cake, but then also after as you talk about that, share with listeners, ways. I know there's people listening to this right now going, hey, look, all this follow-up stuff sounds cool. So kind of go through some ways practice owners could better follow up, especially with self-pay, uninsured, or patients who have insurance, but maybe they only called once or they didn't come in, right? Because I know someone listening to this thinking, hey, I don't have time. I'm seeing patients. I don't want to do all that. So they could call Partiv's team, and you have a lot of done-for-you systems. I mean, Partiv is like, first time I sat by him, he pops open his laptop, and he's got like 9,000 automated programs on there and all kinds of cool calendars and stuff. So, I mean, he's definitely the dental IT geek that you want to have if you say, hey, I want 100% hands off on this stuff. But if someone's like, hey, maybe they have some systems, they have someone in their office who can follow up or implement some of these things, kind of walk us through what you would suggest for listeners to go, hey, look, we need to be following up better with people and what that looks like.
Sure. So there are 3 ways you can follow up. And can I finish one more argument about the membership? Because it comes up quite a bit. How do you sell a membership plan to someone who already has an insurance? And the answer is super bill. What you would tell them is, look, you have insurance, good for you. We don't accept insurance. Well, or we accept insurance, but we'll just bill you. You can put in for reimbursement.
Mm-hmm.
But because you're a member, we don't have to charge you. I mean, state to state, the regulations, I mean, you have to do it the right way, so you're not like empowering them to double dip and all. But there are certain concierge VIP characteristics of the membership that have nothing to do with insurance deliverables. Because in a way, insurance is a discount plan. Membership is all-inclusive. Everything is included. So there are ways to establish a membership plan that works. The VIP. So membership has that VIP connotation to it, and it should definitely not feel or smell like an insurance package.
Right.
Even if you're an insurance-heavy practice, you can still have a membership plan to complement your insurance. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the follow-up, right? 3 things: postcards, direct mail. Show up in an envelope or a postcard in front of your patients and prospects few times a year, because if you only depend on online marketing, you will not communicate with a very large portion of the people who will just not respond to you. So print is important. You want to have greeting cards, postcards, and letters going out to patients and prospects based on who they are, where they are in the treatment cycle, and what it is that they're likely to buy from you. So have a good, strong direct mail strategy, not just for outreach, but also for internal magnetic marketing. One thing I love doing is I would take your actual patient database, put it on a map, pin them, and then find 5 neighbors who are living next door to your existing patient. Because the guy living next door to your patient is likely to be your patient. So if you have 1,000 patients, you probably have 5,000 immediate neighbors who should also be marketed to 3-4 times a year with some sort of an offer. Come on down. We have someone in your neighborhood who comes, visits us, and your name was given to us by one of our patients, stuff like that. So direct mail helps. Second, email marketing. A dental patient newsletter. A print newsletter can cost $1.50, $2 a piece, but you can just at least have email newsletter that can go out to your active and inactive patients, your centers of influence, your referring doctors, and all the prospects who show an interest in doing business with you. And then whoever is clicking on links that are embedded in your emails, you send them something in print. And the third thing you do is you use phone calls. Dental Intel, or there are other software like Dental Intel, I just like DI, will tell you who you should be calling on today, this week, this month. Have a designated member of your staff who love making the phone calls, because these are not cold calls. These are intelligent, warm calls. And a treatment coordinator, a cross between a clinician and an administrator with a hint of sales, can basically make a couple, 3 dozen phone calls a week. I mean, if you have someone who is just dedicated to making 2 to 3 conversations an hour, 2 to 3 hours a day, 2 to 3 days a week, that's enough to do intelligent phone calls. Appointment no-shows, appointment no-sales, people who just finished treatment, asking for referrals, people who are clicking on things on the emails, people who call in because direct mail went out. So using someone dedicated to make outbound phone calls to respond to respondents for responding to your marketing. So these are the three things a dental practice can do.
Yeah, I mean,
heavily on direct mail.
Mm-hmm. As much as some of us hate as consumers getting calls for telemarketing, obviously it works because these companies wouldn't be spending millions of dollars if they weren't getting a return on it. So, and in the case of a dental practice, the advantage is, especially most listening to this, is you're family owned and operated. You have a much deeper relationship than, someone calling from Dish TV who you're never going to talk to again, because they probably won't even be there the next time you call. The turnover's so high. So when you have, a dedicated hygiene coordinator or treatment coordinator calling people several hours a week, 8 out of 10 phone calls are going to go to voicemail. That's okay. You have a scripted voicemail that you leave, and you send a follow-up text message, and a good reason for them to call back. And we do these things. We call them call parties. So once a month, we'll get team members and we'll get some of our warmest lists, and we'll spend an hour or two and call everybody, and we'll make a goal. If we get X amount, we buy lunch for the team or whatever, and it makes it fun. Team likes it, but it's just a way, and it's amazing that, we may hit a goal of booking, anywhere from 8 to 20 appointments, depending how many people we have and how much time we spend. But then a bunch of other calls trickle in over the rest of the week of people calling back and texting back and emailing back. And it is, as much as it seems old school, what I love about the three you named there is none of those are digital. And even though digital has its place for sure, it's kind of like everybody in dentistry right now is saying, oh, everything should be online, everything should be text, email. And when everybody's zigging, if you zag, you'll catch those things. I mean, I had two offers. I was on vacation last week. One was, a hotel had a QR code to sign up for their card, which I took and noted, and it's something I'm going to apply for. And then the other one was something I was sent from Citibank for like an online savings account. And I kept that because both of those stood out to me. Both were big companies that obviously have an online presence, but they're still handing out pieces of paper because they know it works. And in my case, I get so many emails, I don't read most of them. But when I get things in the mail, there's fewer and fewer things, so I know that the message is important and probably worth their time to share it with me. So I pay closer attention to those things, and I'm probably a little bit biased that way, but it's the same with patient newsletters. Print newsletters are very cool, and we get patients every week commenting about, a story that was in there or something funny we shared. That's a really good way to share. You talked about, your bespoke copy where it's written as the practice owner, as the dentist, as the doctor, so that it sounds familiar to the people who are reading it. I hate stock content because it's fake, it's copied and pasted. Well, all these things you're sharing make the business very personable. Shows care, it shows follow-up, it shows that you're reaching out. We have people bring in postcards sometimes that are 9 months old. Say, hey, can I use this? And even though the offer may have expired, we'll find some other offer or something else, some other bonus we can give them, and they'll hang on to that, put that on their fridge. They don't do that with an email. So what's your approach on that?
Well, it comes down to choreography. You want to, so here is how you arrive at decision as to what your communication theater is going to look like. If you and I have several hours, if you and I are at a wedding, and it's after the wedding, before reception, and we are all dressed up waiting for the wives to come out, and you and I are spending time together. I'm 54. You're a doctor. I have diabetes. I'm sleep apnea. And I'm in a company of a doctor for an extended period of time. What are we going to talk about? It's going to be a meaningful conversation about the trajectory of my health, what I can do to take care of myself, and how you can help. Correct?
Absolutely.
Well, you take that conversation and slice it up across emails, digital downloadable free reports, and print communication, so that 2-3 hour heart-to-heart conversation with your doctor can be had with every patient across the year in an asynchronous environment. That is the spirit of marketing automation in dentistry. It's an internal marketing machine. They already know you, like you, trust you. They look up to you. You make more money than most of them. They want their kids to grow up to be like you. You are a role model to them. All you have to do is show up and communicate with them about subject of their interest. What can they do to remain healthy for a very long time so they don't have to resort to oral surgery and other painful parts of dentistry? If you want to take away the anxiety from dentistry, add pleasure, educate them, tell them what it will be like at the end of the treatment, rather than just focus on the logistics of the treatment. What is the cost of a smile? We know. What is the value of a smile that can get you a new job or help you get loved by your mother-in-law? I mean, deliverables of a healthy, happy smile can change your life. Talk about that.
Right. Yeah, it's all about, they say people spend on average somewhere between 3 and 5 times on what they plan for when they go to Disneyland. And it's all emotional. It's all like, hey, you get there and you're feeling good and you're happy, and all buying decisions are emotional, and then we justify them with logic. So if someone comes into your practice and you're not, the nice thing in dentistry is we're not peddling anything on anybody, we're simply sharing. Yeah.
A bride would spend how much on jewelry, how much on clothes, how much on makeup, how much on hair. But at the big moment, you will have to smile. Most brides are candidate for some sort of cosmetic treatment. Some might be candidate for Invisalign if you can meet them a year and a half ahead. So how about marketing at bridal shows? You see, look, you guys are rich people with kind heart. You can show up like community superheroes. You can walk into a school and give a lecture on facial trauma and beg moms to please bring your child to my clinic so I can teach them how to avoid facial trauma and give you a free mouth guard. A designer mouth guard costs $10 to a dentist. You can buy it from Under Armour. That puts a mom in a state of gratitude. And a grateful mom will buy treatment, pay for it, and give you referrals. You have a child in your care, you tell them how much the mom's paying for the treatment, have the child scribble 3-4 lines of thank you note, take that from the child and send it to mom with a gift basket at work. You're going to make the mom's day. You're going to get, you facilitated a child saying thank you to the parent. An epic, historic moment that you have triggered. They're going to talk about that for years.
Yeah, it's like we call it, surprise and delight. But if you didn't catch that, what Parthiv was saying, that go back and re-listen to that, because that's a huge gold nugget. Is if mom gets that gift box at work, not only is she going to be thankful and excited and surprised, but think about other people at work looking around going, man, my dentist never did that for me. All I did was get a bill from them. in the mail, which I think is the worst way to do dentistry, because we all have some things that are under or overbilled, which happens. But if you're sending out tons of statements every month, you're leaving a lot on the table, because your payroll cycle is way extended, and it's crushing your profit and stretching out your overhead. So that's a perfect example of what Parthiv said of, hey, what are creative ways, and if that mom was a member in your practice, you could add an extra bonus in there. Hey, thanks for being a member. Here's something extra. It could be a tube of whitening toothpaste. It doesn't have to be extravagant, but it's the creativity that really matters.
Everyone loves gifts. See,
right.
I actually automate sending out print. So basically, there are systems where you can enroll people, and a sequence of printed postcards or greeting cards and gifts can go out automatically.
Right.
Because most practices don't have internal logistics to send the right gift, the right card at the right time to the right person. Birthday, anniversary, good grades, end of treatment celebration cards, etc. So sending out print should be as easy as sending out an email. So print too can be automated.
Yeah, it's like the quote. I don't remember who said it, but systemize the predictable so you can humanize the exceptional. So if you have even a decent practice, you're going to get some referrals. So how do you systematize that to say thanks? And as Parthiv he mentioned, he can help set up those tools. There's lots of good apps, all kinds of easy ways to have someone on your team do that now. But we are running short on time here, Parthiv. Tell us, for listeners, if someone wants to learn more about what you do, some of the ideas you shared, how listeners could reach you, and if you have any other final thoughts before we wrap up.
Thank you. First of all, I'm grateful for the invite. I would love to continue this conversation one-on-one with any practice owner, any revenue size. When I'm not making money, I'm making friends. I need them both. I will give you my dental patient newsletter templates. I'll give you my postcards. I'll give you my greeting card templates. I'll give you my marketing automation system. If you have dental intel, I will even log in and run the report and tell you where to strike so you can make an extra few $100,000. And just go to meetparthiv.com, M-E-E-T, meet, Parthiv, P-A-R-T-H-I-V, meetparthiv.com, and book an appointment with me. We'll spend 20, 30 minutes together on phone, and we will get on Zoom and take a look at what 3 or 4 things we can do this week, this month, that can help you grow your dental practice. Because, practice growth is so important with the rising cost of everything. If you don't grow your practice at top line to generate more revenue, and if you don't increase profitability of your dental practice at the bottom line, in 2025, you will not be able to sustain your today's lifestyle on your 2022 paycheck. Growth is not nice to have anymore. Current state is a bad state. Growth is necessary just to maintain the current lifestyle.
Yeah, that's the great thing about owning a practice is it's a great hedge against inflation if you operate it and manage it properly and treat people really well and have an exceptional practice that people want to come see you. So, Parthiv, thanks so much for being on today. Please, for those listening, leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. We'd love to hear it. You can also contact us. And in the show notes, we'll put Parthiv's meetparthiv.com as well so that you can get in touch with him. And thanks so much for listening. Parthiv, thanks again for being on the show. Great talking with you. We'll have to have you back in the future for another episode because we've just scratched the surface on so many great things here. So thank you very much, everybody, and have a wonderful day.
For more tools and tips on how to create an X Factor membership practice, visit yourpracticegrowth.com and subscribe to our free weekly email today.